3 titles. 3. I tried to give Steve for that name of that song. I suggested 3 outstanding titles, and he rejected each one. You know why? Because he's young and I'm old. And my titles were old. As my daughter says, your jokes are old. But what we're going to talk about right now is not a joke. It is something I might know about, even though I am old, and let's talk about it. God gives life to all things. Life is a gift in and of itself, and being a gift, it is ours. It's a gift, and it is ours to do with it as we see fit, as we are led, as we are equipped, as we decide. Those who want to live life as if it were a party and have everything now, have that right. God allows it. Look around. He lets you do it. Those who live it with a means to try to know Him better and pursue truth have that right. God allows it. I think that to a large extent God has had His hand in the direction of people's lives, and He's there, but to a great extent we choose this day whom we will serve. We choose this day whom we will serve. In my estimation, we can categorize the human race in 2 large groups. Those who are psychikos and those who are pneumatikos. Psychikos, pneumatikos. Big Greek words. I base this description off a passage, 1 Corinthians 2:14, and it says this: "But the natural man, psychikos, receives not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned," pneumatikos. So psychikos is the natural man, pneumatikos is the spirit man or woman. So typically speaking, people who are psychikos, and that's all they are people who are of the flesh. They cannot understand what the pneumatikos people are talking about. It's confusing to them. It doesn't make any sense. It's like tinkling brass. It doesn't make sense to them, and they really don't care about it. But the pneumatikos, interestingly enough, usually have a pretty good understanding of what's going on with people who are psychikos driven. Why is that? Because we came from that. We all have been psychikos at one point. We all were born of the flesh at one point, and you aren't born pneumatikos. You're born psychikos, and as a soulish person, and you come to know God through His Spirit, and you move from the psychikos view to the pneumatikos view. That's why people who are led of the Spirit are able to understand the people who are not. So this often leads to frustration on the part of people who fail to understand spiritual things or the things of God, because when you're psychikos, soul-driven, you see the world through your soul. And so that's your mind, your will, and emotion, which are kind of corrupted. And so you don't understand the things of the Spirit, and so it becomes very frustrating to people who are led that way. We might understand this to a person perhaps who has been an alcoholic. They understand and they're able to identify with somebody else who's an alcoholic because they've been there and they've overcome it, and yet they still understand what that person is going through in their struggle with alcohol. So as a former man of the world who was completely psychikos, I did not comprehend the things of the Spirit, even though I went to church. I was completely psychikos, and I only saw the things of God, the Bible, the teachings, through my mind, my will, and my emotions. And I can attest to the fact that when I was a soulish man, I could not for the life of me understand the things of pneumatikos people. I would mock it, actually, and would make fun, and I would say they're just nuts, you know. But now that I've been born from above, that's what Jesus said, everybody's psychikos, you must be born from above and move to being pneumatikosly driven. Now that I've been born from above, I have begun to understand the things of God, but I've also been given compassion on people who remain over here. Because I understand where they've come from. And for this reason, I suggest it's really incumbent upon people of the Spirit, because we are all once people of the soul, to exercise the fruit of the Spirit in dealing with people who don't understand these things at all. That we have patience and long-suffering and kindness and temperance and all those things with them, and we don't use it as a reason to point a finger at them as being sinners and headed for hell and horrible people. We just understand them in our pneumaticos view to be people who haven't seen the light yet. And so we have that Christian love toward them, not the Christian hate toward them or the Christian judgment against them, which often comes out. I also suggest that as men and women of the faith, it's important for us to realize that these Sukkakos people are in God's hands. He's aware of them, and whether a person obtains spiritual eyes, the pneumaticos heart, is up to God. Understand that. It is up to God. It's not up to you. And in fact, it's not up to them entirely. God reaches and calls at the right time. They receive or reject. And that's a separate thing for God to deal with them about. But it's up to God to take those people and move them. Sometimes I think this is lost when we are pneumaticos driven. And we forget what it was like to be people of the soul and what it was like to have issues with the flesh, overwhelming issues. And we do a lot of condemning of others. Maybe this will never be the case for those who truly seek God and follow Christ in spirit and in truth. Maybe it will get to the point where the finger pointing at the lost or the people who haven't received will go away. For those who are Sukkakos souls, if you don't even know what I'm talking about now, and if this is gibberish to you, I want to extend an invitation to you. And that is, it's the invitation of a spiritual gift that God wants to give you. He has it all packaged up. He's ready to give it to you. And he waits for things that are kind of beyond me, but it seems like he waits for someone to desire to know him, for someone to realize they need or want him in their life, for someone who is willing to perhaps do anything God wants them to do if he will speak to them and show them. He knows the content of the heart, and so he is there reaching out. He's waiting for you to reach out. And so my invitation to those people who are soul-driven, who don't know the things of the Spirit, is to go to God. And you can do this in any way, shape, or form. And if it's honest, it's got to be honest. And I don't know if you've ever been in a relationship where you can be truly honest with somebody about anything and everything, but when you can, it's a liberating experience. And so you can be totally honest with God, whether you even believe in him or her or it or not. You go and you say, I don't know if I believe in you or it or she or whatever, but I am seeking to know if you exist, and I want this gift that I've heard about. Will you give it to me? I want my life to change. I want to go from being Sukkakos-led to being pneumaticos-led. And then you wait, and you sit back, and you patiently wait. And what he does typically is he gives you a new way to see. He gives you a new way that suddenly you start to see and hear the world in different ways. And he will begin to do a work in you, and once he's done that, he will not stop. And he will arrive. And when he does, you will never be the same. You will have life more abundantly. One final thing, and we're going to wrap it up. Some people have a miraculous experience when he gives the gift. And other people, he gives the gift in pieces. It's almost like he's going to give you a Lego set, and he gives you one Lego at a time over the course of years. It just depends on him and how he's working with you. But try to be aware of him working in your life, and give your heart to him, and he will certainly respond with the most amazing eternal gift you can imagine. Out!